Over the course of the last few days, Saturday, Sunday and Monday, and you won't have seen this reported anywhere because it isn't news anymore, 806 people crossed the English Channel and were taken in and processed through Dover. This even included this boat yesterday. Let's take a look. This is extraordinary. And these fellas came over from the coast straight in through the breakwater into Dover Harbour. They were then picked up and taken the last couple of 100 yards. I mean, they might as well have had a sign saying, please give me a 4-star hotel. Oh, and a Domino's pizza, of course. A Domino's pizza when they arrive. 806 have come over the course of the last 3 days. And here's the extraordinary story. Yesterday, conditions in the Channel were not pretty. Some friends of mine who were out watching this said, you know, literally these dinghies would disappear from view when they went down into the troughs. Border Force, and they've got these great big cutters, you know, big, very expensive boats. Border Force decided it was too rough for them to go. So they stayed in the harbour drinking tea and left the work to, yes, you've guessed it, the RNLI. And so the Ramsgate boat was out, the Dover boat was out, the Dungeness boat was out. Indeed, the Dover boat was out for 12 hours yesterday. And remember, these boats are being staffed by volunteers, people who are either on holiday time or who are giving up their income elsewhere to go out and do this job. And you can imagine the RNLI are pretty furious with Border Force saying that it's too rough to go, and the pressure keeps mounting on the RNLI. And yes, they are suffering resignations, and it's dreadful that this institution, this great institution, is being used and abused by Border Force in this way. Politically, this issue is much higher up the agenda than climate change when Conservative voters are polled. So what on earth is to happen? Well, joining me now is Ben Loughnane, Fellow of the Bow Group, Britain, and indeed the world's oldest Conservative think tank. Ben, welcome to the show. It's really interesting, but particularly in the red wall seats, voters are absolutely going potty over this because they say, well, look, actually part of the deal of voting Brexit and voting Conservative was taking back control of our borders, and here they are being sort of openly abused. Politically, how do you sense the mood is amongst Conservative grassroots activists?
Well, I do think that it's going to be the red wall, which is the key, and the coastal towns in the next election. That is where Boris is going to start to see himself losing seats. The moment he starts to lose seats, he starts to lose power over the Conservative Party, and people will start to surround him and encircle him. So if Boris actually wants to maintain his leadership, if he wants to go in through the next 10 years as a Thatcherite-style leader...
As he has hinted.
As he's hinted, that's what he wants to do. He needs to get on top of this issue, because otherwise the red wall and the coastal towns will fall, and the bricks will start to crumble in the wall that is his leadership.
Now, there is a new Borders and Nationality Bill, isn't there, sort of sneaking its way gently, slowly through Parliament. Do you think that might make a difference?
Ostensibly it might do, but in practice I think there's absolutely nothing in there of any substance which will do anything to change the current...
But Priti Patel keeps telling us it's all going to be sorted out.
And she has done for the past 2 years, and it hasn't. The numbers have only gone up. You know, we had, 8,000 last year, 20,000 so far this year, up to 30,000. At what point in that time has anything she said come true?
No, well, I have to say I do tend to rather agree with that, Ben. But... Is it possible, and we've seen and we've shown here on this programme some footage of Border Force practising turning dinghies around. Is it practically possible to do that in the English Channel?
It's not about turning them around, it's about stopping them from coming in the first place. And the way you stop that is by eliminating the pull factors. So you need to get rid of the 4-star hotels and Domino pizzas and the free phones and the free clothes and all of the things which incentivise... Yeah, and the healthcare.
And dental care.
But fundamentally...
And spending money.
And all of that, every, goodie bag.
So are the French right? Is it our fault, really?
It is our fault, absolutely. It's also their fault because they're allowing them to continue to go. But you can't blame them for that because, at the end of the day, these people have entered France illegally. If they want to leave illegally as well, why wouldn't they turn a blind eye? It's in their interest to do so.
Isn't there one big problem here? And I can see people are getting very angry about this. They're getting angry that they feel the promises aren't being kept in the manifesto. They're getting angry that they see the government going on different priorities, which we've been, top storying on tonight. But isn't the problem that Labour just have nothing to say in return to this?
Well, this is one of the big problems, is that the government has no opposition, so there is no impetus for them to make any changes, because no one is holding them to account. When they do something wrong, if there's no one on the other side of the dispatch box saying, Prime Minister, why have you failed on this key issue, what is going to prevent him from allowing it to continue to happen? I think the only option is for a unified opposition from the other side to come onto the playing field and to threaten the Red Wall and the coastal towns and put Boris
And
in
yet
a
they won't
situation.
do it. Now, in Folkestone today, and let's have a look at this footage, shall we, of Folkestone today, because this really is quite astonishing. There's been a puppet image of a child migrant that's been travelling. Here it is. It's about 12 feet tall. There it is next to Folkestone Pier. And this is supposed to be a child migrant, and the Refugees Welcome Group were out. Jude Law turned up. Quite what it's supposed to mean, I really don't know, other than to say that we are big-hearted people and we're very, very generous. It just kind of doesn't quite hit the truth, does it? That over 90% of those that come are young men. Young men arriving without any documentation whatsoever. And if that doesn't pose something of a threat, a security threat, I don't know what does. Ben, thank you